So unless you've been living under a rock, I'm pretty sure you've seen the series of videos put out by Dale Brown where he's showing people how to disarm criminals and take away guns and knives and all of this kind of kung fu-ish style self-defense strategy videos or tactics videos. And I got a lot of questions from people who are asking me, do I think this is real? Do I think he's being serious? Is he trolling? Whatever the case may be. I do have my opinions on him. I've even posted meme videos about his videos that I thought were funny. But instead of kind of waxing poetic about what I thought, I figured I'd ask the man himself. So that's what I did. So what you're about to watch is an hour-long conversation between me and Dale Brown about what he does in his videos. So enjoy. All right. So let's just jump right into it, man. I know there are a lot of people who are wondering, like, what is your background and what does your background look like?
My background, as a kid, first of all, I'm Dale Brown, founder of the Detroit Urban Survival Training Center and Detroit Threat Management Center. And my background is in many years of martial arts and firearms first. So my mother was a captain in the Army. While she was a lieutenant, she was in the National Guard, which transferred to regular Army, and we moved to Germany. But before that, when I was a kid, we used to go shooting at the range, M16A1 and A2, starting at age like 6 years old.
Yeah.
So I started my first formal firearms training at that age. My mother was on a firearms team. She was competing with the National Guard, and guns was part of our life. And then we always had we had a range at our private land in Michigan here, owned by my family. That was a place where I would shoot on the weekends growing up. So we're just always around firearms until I went to a military school where I had a chance to shoot M60s in ninth grade. I started training in wrestling when I was, I think, 8. Mm-hmm. And the wrestling team put me off the team because I wouldn't obey the rules. They wanted me to put an arm inside of a choke, and I just started choking the other kids straight around their neck.
Gotcha.
I could see that I couldn't really win if I obeyed those other rules. So winning was more important to me than following the rules and being on the team. And gotcha. So then I went to martial arts, I think around age 10, 11, and I started studying Taekwondo first. That was the first system I studied. And then when I went to military school, I got a chance to see guys from Vietnam that were our instructors that were teaching us things you're not supposed to teach kids, I'm sure, like how to get information from people while they're tied upside down, how to set claymore mines, how to set booby traps, and all that was ninth grade. And
wow.
I loved it. It was great fun, shooting weapons at full auto at ninth grade, and doing war games. It was the greatest fun ever as a kid. And that laid the stage later. I went to West Germany. I was in West Germany. I trained with the Ansbach combat pistol team through my junior and senior year. And then I went to the Army myself and became an airborne paratrooper. And while in the Army, I had a chance to see, a lot about myself, that's where I learned not to worry about money and time and to be mission motivated. So I never worry about how much time and how much money, like, for example, I'm going to make in a situation. What's most important is that the outcome has to be achieved. So mission motivated first. And that's where I got from the military. It was long. I never worried about hours. I can work long hours without thinking about money. And the mission must be completed. So in airborne, man, I was scared of heights. And I wasn't even sure I could do it. What I can tell you is that when you follow through with your word, when you're that kind of person, it changed you. So I was able to, mature by saying, you know what, I'm going to actually jump out of the aircraft. And a lot of people didn't, man. I will say this: out of 500 and something people that entered airborne school, less than half of of the people that came through during my time at Benning, less than half graduated. And so these are some hardcore looking people, man. I remember that's where I really started to realize that how people look doesn't matter. I saw females go and complete airborne school and go drive on and drive through. And then I saw gigantic men that were Army, Marines, other things, and they did not want to continue. They literally stood down, and I was shocked. But that also helped me make better decisions later. I was a private investigator when I got in the military, and that's where I learned, the application of law, why law is so important. And then as a martial artist, I got a chance to see, as I studied different martial arts growing up, I kept going to different classes, different courses, judo to traditional karates, different forms of Japanese and Korean karate. I saw some Chinese instruction, some instructors that teach different systems that derive from China, which I like as well. But what I did was I never liked any of them completely, in that they were more focused on several factors. One is, in martial arts, they want to share with you, although I do like the esoterics, they want to share with you their cultural values, and I respect them, but that's not what I went there for. I wanted to know techniques and tactics that can make me better, more efficient, more effective. And what they wanted to share with me was more sport ideas and more ideas about competing. And I
Gotcha.
So I would just go to different schools, try to get cool with the instructors, then ask them a bunch of questions after class about, what do you do for gun disarm? What do you do for a knife disarm? Get cool with them and respectfully ask, hey, in Korean system, this Japanese system, and this Chinese system, and this, some people have crazy systems they made up. I didn't care. I didn't care what you did. I just want to learn. And that's where I got a lot of different things before I came to Detroit and started teaching my blended system. So what I found was, as a private investigator, we don't know the law. So whether you're carrying a firearm or whether you're not, you need to know how the law applies to self-defense, to the story, to how it's going to be articulated by you and others, right? How it's understood determines everything, right? So explain it and how they write it down, because the police are going to write it down, and then how the witnesses saw you at first, and then how they're going to make their statements, how the detectives, the prosecutors, the judges and juries are going to look at your situation. I think that's very important for you to know before you have a situation. So I thought, why didn't I learn this? Why wasn't there a school that taught me before I touch someone, I should know the law? Before I hit someone, before I choke someone, before I pull a weapon, why is there no legal application, right, for that? And as a firearms instructor, I became an NRA certified firearms instructor in 1994, of 5 disciplines. And I remember thinking, law was the most important thing I thought we should have been taught or teaching, on how to legally understand the application of defense with your weapon, right? And what I was told as an instructor at that time, I don't know what they're doing now, I was told that I should have the students consult a lawyer. Now, we're not supposed to say anything about law applying to the training. And I thought, that seems crazy, because I would not want you to get, carry a gun and then not know legally how to understand how it will be interpreted. You can say, I'm scared, but do you understand how the legal systems are going to look at that? The police officers, based on the testimony of other people there. So that's what I created a system for. So you could learn how to fight on the ground, fight standing up, fight with a knife, a pistol, shotgun, rifle, a baton, fight with an environmental weapon, something you found on the ground, but understand legally how to understand the ramifications of action and inaction, right? But also understand how to articulate it to police when they arrive on scene. How do you say what happened and how do you explain it legally?
Yeah, I think the reason why the reason why they were defaulting to ask an attorney, I think, is more from a liability standpoint. It's that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Because it's say, well, that's what they told me to do, and then it becomes a whole mixed up bag
exactly.
of things.
That is what they'll do. They'll say, the instructor told me to do this, and then say the NRA is responsible for my behavior on that day, so they should have to pay a lawsuit, which I understand that's why you do that. Absolutely, 100%.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So now things have right now you have a lot of attention. As far as the videos
crazy.
that you put out, it's nuts. And for me personally, initially when I reached out to you, I told you, I put out a couple of meme response videos to some of the videos that you had, and I never really personally, I got a lot of questions from people asking me, do you think he's serious? Do you think this is a joke? Where is it? Where does this lie? And personally, I normally would respond with, I don't know. I think it's 50-50. So I said, you know what? Let me reach out and figure out and ask the man himself.
Right,
for those that are wondering, so is this real? Are the things that you teach in these videos, are these real, or is this satire, or are you trolling?
I'm just learning what trolling means. Apparently, I missed an internet meeting on that, but people are helping me to understand what that means now.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, everything 100% real, 150%. What I'm actually showing online are the simple things I know that people can learn because I had a chance to actually use this training in real life. Unlike any other instructor that you're ever really going to come across, I got a chance to actually see the tactics I teach my students. Whether it's hand-to-hand or firearms or knife, baton, I got a chance to see them actually use the training. So not only did I teach them, then they used it, and we were together protecting families against violent gangs. So
Gotcha.
to be clear on where our most of our history is in actually dealing with extremely violent people in extremely violent situations. Detroit, according to the FBI, February of 2021, they said that Detroit is the most dangerous city in America. And so what I can tell you is that in order to survive, we had to understand how to manage threats and we understand how to deal with bullet wounds in real life. In our 26 years, we have no one dead on our staff. We have no one dead that we protected, and we still protect families right now, thousands of people. And most importantly, more importantly than the fact that none of us are dead, none of the families we protected are dead in 26 years. That's what we're most proud of. The police officers that train with us, they're all live. We've got testimonials from them on our YouTube channel. We also have victories from our victory program, which is a victims program of domestic violence and stalking. These are people we protect for free for the past 26 years. Anytime they have a high-risk situation where men want to kill them, we make sure that doesn't happen. And so that's something we do with prosecutors, send people to us. Some judges have, some police officers, police advocates, as well as domestic violence shelters and other people saw us on TV or something. But that's something we've always done for 26 years is protect people for free that have high-risk situations. These are normally, either single moms or senior citizens or, and sometimes it's whole families we have to protect.
So were you responding to calls of threats, or were you kind of just walking around?
No, people call us for help.
Gotcha. Okay. So somebody would call you and say, hey, I'm dealing with this situation.
Correct.
And then you would basically serve as their personal security.
No.
Or would you?
Well,
okay.
Yeah. Those cases of domestic violence, yes.
Okay.
Prosecutors can send people to us. Domestic violence, crime witnesses. I didn't know that was a real thing, but apparently when people kill a person, they actually go after their family members as well. I don't understand that, but that's something we've had to help people with. And the way it got started was at first I was teaching in parks here in Detroit, my self-defense system. Then what happened was a girl was chased off a bridge. And that's when I realized that people need more than just training. They need physical help. But I still thought that essentially there was a direct connection between, you call the police and then you give them a statement and then this action is taken. And that's not necessarily true. The police don't have to listen to you. They don't have to do what you said. And they don't have to take an action if they don't believe it's appropriate. But that won't help you if you believe this person is going to kill you and they're next door or they're across the street or they're coming back to your neighborhood or to your home to kill you or your family members. So what we did was bridge that gap. So I created an organization that could help people. That's because, again, I didn't know this. I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is where University of Michigan is, a college town. And I just thought you just call the police, they just go there and it's taken care of. And I didn't know that, we, the regular people, are the people that are going to have to protect themselves, and the police can help you. The police can come there, they can prosecute people, sometimes they can actually catch the person while they're attacking you and stop them. Those things do happen. But ultimately, every one of us is required to protect ourselves, our family, our community, and the police can definitely be assisting you, but it's wrong to blame the police because they weren't there when something happened to you, because it's impossible for the police to be there during your time of need. So what we need to do is focus on our own personal safety, take responsibility for our own safety, whether it's armed or unarmed, and then make sure that we utilize the law enforcement community to enforce laws where needed and where applicable, because there's always going to be a situation, if it ever gets serious and violent, where you're going to need police assistance to process the rest of the situation. So to bridge that with knowledge and skill, and that's what we did. And then we got a chance to use our training in real life because what I did to do is create an organization that physically protected people using the training system. So,
So how long did it take you to kind of perfect the training system? And I know with systems, it's always ongoing. It's always improving.
Right.
You're always making changes.
Right.
But when did you reach a point when you're like, all right, I'm confident enough with the system to start teaching people how to employ it?
Oh no, it's comfortable day one, because what happened is, think of it like learning anything you're learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was a swim instructor, and I was teaching swimming, and I'm learning people learning how to swim for me, and I was a swim instructor that I like swimming, but that's not my first love. Training and self-defense is my first love. So
yeah.
I looked at it the same way. If I gave you information that you could use to protect yourself, you now have that information. Mm-hmm. So I just took all the information from all the different martial arts that I had and put it into a system, and then gave people all these options. And then what happened was we had a chance to use them. And so what I found was that 75% of what I learned from all these traditional martial arts, from judo, from all these different places, they didn't work outside of your weight class. They didn't work when the person wants to kill you versus fight you.
Now, was this something you learned by way of observation or experiencing it yourself?
Physical, yes. Physically protecting people. I found that 75% of what I learned in martial arts, different sports systems, different types of systems that are traditional arts or sports, they work really good in school, right, in class,
mm-hmm.
but they didn't work in the street. And the reason why they didn't work in the street is several. The first one is, in the street, psychologically, there's a difference between a sport and a survival situation.
Yeah.
So when a person realizes that they're in a situation that could deprive them of their life, it changes them psychologically. So a person can be a great fighter in a sports situation, and then find out that once they're in an actual situation of life and death, even death even being possible, changes their ability to perform. Same thing would happen. Remember those movies with the sniper? So they show the guy's a great Olympics shooter, but he could outshoot the gunny sergeant if they were doing a competition. But when it's time to actually shoot actual combat, all of a sudden the sports shooter couldn't actually kill like the gunny could.
Yeah. I think they say that a lot, especially like in a firearm training world, where you'll in a real life situation, you can do all the training you want, but in a real life situation, you're going to default to your lowest level of training.
Yes.
And so I can understand it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Now,
in real life, imagine training people and then seeing them actually use the training. So I got a chance I had a feedback loop. So it's one thing to say, here's some training, go. But in my case, I got people that, so where I lived on the east side of Detroit, it was a place called Crack Alley. And this place was, say, approximately 400 dwellings. 10% of the people there were violent criminals. The rest of the people were regular families. So 90% of the people are just people trying to earn their life, earn their living, go to work, or senior citizens trying to live their life out in peace. And they would like to not die during that time period.
Yeah.
But in this one square block where I lived, there were daily home invasions and at least a murder once a month in this one square block. And when I would call the police, I called the police so much that 911 operators knew my name. They would say, it's Dale. Like, Dale, you calling again? I was like, yep. Got a shooting over here. Got people screaming for help. Got people shooting. And what I did was I went to the building owner and said, you know what? We need to help the families, the community here in the buildings. We need to put better doors on, lighting. We need to protect the families from these home invasions. And the guy looked at me and was like, yeah, good luck with that. Like, what? Because I've made money in these buildings. He's a really rich guy. Owns skyscrapers. He says, I've made any money for 25 years. So I own these buildings. I said, okay. So I left. I came back. I found out every time there's a murder, he would lose $70,000 a month. $70,000 worth of revenue.
Based on what? Oh, because people moving out.
Moved out, right? They're
Gotcha.
like, I'm not living where people are murdered. So what I did was I said, let me get one free apartment. I went back to him and said, sir, let me do this for you. Give me a free apartment. Give me a free office space, which I turned into my first school. And so I no longer teach in the parks. I was teaching in the parks at first. And then I said, give me one free apartment in each building, 10 buildings. And let me get volunteers to protect each building. I'll train them in my school. And then we'll put them in the building, give them a free apartment, and they'll protect their building in exchange for the free rent. And he said, that doesn't sound like it's going to work. He said, I don't see what you could do that Detroit Police Department couldn't do in all these years I own these buildings. I said, you know what? That's a very good point. I actually don't see what I can do either. But I need a legal right to enforce the rules against these guys, which you can see are marauding through the buildings, attacking families at will. And I said, I know I need the legal rights to stop them from hurting the families. There's no real way I'm going to legally be able to prevent the actions until they're exigent, and I don't want to do that. I want to wait till they're actually killing people, then try to stop them. So what I want to do is get the legal right to enforce laws and rules in their buildings on their private property. So he agreed, and within 6 months, all home invasions and murder stopped. And as a result of that, the 911 calls dropped down from 300 a month to like 30, and those 30 were me, because we still call it a procedure. We always call police first. And the building owner went from 30% occupancy to a waiting list, because when people don't get murdered, people want to live there. They pay their rent. And this guy was owning all these 10 buildings, and now all of a sudden they're overflowing with people. It's safe, and the building of the business owners in the area started making money. The police department, they got 90% decrease in 911 calls, so they were happy and very supportive of that outcome. And as a result, we created a condition where you now no longer know the area, even to this very day, as crack alley. People have good quality of life, and we did it without violence. So we did it by creating conditions using primarily psychology to create that outcome. But without the physical tactics, we wouldn't be able to solve issues without creating more issues. So, for example, no court dates. You can't physically move people and stop things from happening if you don't know how to do that without injuring people. And we're able to do that through the training.
So regarding the training aspect of it, so like let's take for instance the because I think some of the most popular videos involve you taking firearms or disarming people, or showing people how to disarm people.
Yes.
From in your history, can you recount about how many times you've had to do it yourself, or witness somebody having to do that, and just kind of how you put together the concept and the theory behind doing those particular techniques? Yes,
I've had to disarm firearms on 2 or 3 occasions. 2 where they're already out, 1 where it was going to come out, and then knives as well on multiple occasions. But my team members have done more than that, because they were in many different places as well. So we've worked, I've had over 3,500 team members, and we were working in multiple cities at the same time. So we would be in conflicts because we worked in places. The only way people would hire us that thought they needed to hire us were people that had a problem with gangs.
Gotcha.
So you would contact us if there was no way for you to operate your business, or for people to live in a building, or for people to thrive because of what they're experiencing in terms of violence and criminality attacking them or their families or their patrons. In the case of, for example, grocery store was our first outside the neighborhoods place of work, and that was because they were attacking the senior citizens and stealing their the time they had food stamps. They were stealing their food stamps, attacking them literally right in front of the place, and this resulted in a horrible lifestyle for the senior citizens. So we got hired by the grocery store, and all those robberies stopped.
Gotcha.
And then we had to in order to make them stop, we had to get physical. You can't ask these violent gangs to not attack people. You have to physically intervene. And that's where your skills come in. You've got to be able to take them down. And of course, you want to not create unnecessary injuries and deaths, because that's how you end up with problematic conditions like lawsuits and court cases, which of course is counterproductive. If your objective is to create peace, you also want to not create a problem legally for yourself. So that's where our training was specifically designed not to injure and kill people, while still managing the threat that they're actually perpetrating on people. We want to make sure that you dominate, but you also want to create a condition where they don't get injured enough or in a way that they can prove and cause a problem for you legally.
Now, have you ever experienced or witnessed a situation where one of your tactics were being employed and it didn't work the way you wanted it to?
100%. So that's a very good point. Glad you asked that question. 75% of everything I learned in martial arts growing up did not work. It did not work at all. And that's because it wasn't designed in a society like the United States, where we have different sized people.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll pause you real quick. I was more so talking about kind of like because I remember you saying that, and you talking about how 75% of stuff that you had learned prior, you didn't work in a real dynamic situation. Right. So I was kind of more referring to like your particular system. Like, have you seen someone incorporating your system and it not working accordingly?
My system is for martial arts. So.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So anybody who's ever trained in martial arts understands what they're looking at.
Yeah.
If you didn't train in martial arts, traditional arts, it might look strange to you. A lot of people today, I didn't realize this, they never studied martial arts before. They went straight to sports. So, punching, kicking. So to them, the techniques that I'm doing look very odd. But if you'd ever studied traditional martial arts from Japan and Korea, then you would notice 90% of what you're looking at, 90% of what I'm demonstrating on there is directly a martial art related technique, right?
Gotcha.
10% of it is altered by real life application. So you can't do it that way. Like Aikido is great, and I use a lot of Aikido principles, but you can't use Aikido in the way that it's normally taught because the timing and gap is not really there in real life. So I learned that by getting hit. So when you grab the wrist and you want to invert it, the thug strikes you in the face on the second motion. So it's 1,000 seconds to grab the hand, and then as you move the hand, they strike you. So that's 1,000, and then you get struck. So that exists in a learning setting because no one's trying to actually hit you. So in my setting, what I learned was when we, instead of moving the hand, we move the body, and that's how we get the lock to work. And that's where we removed the time it took for them to actually strike back. So we had a chance to test it in real life. I had people that are 150 pounds. I had people that are, biggest guy I ever was 420 pounds and 6'9". So we had to have a system that's adaptable. And my training system is specifically adaptable to all people. So we don't all do the same things. And what I'm showing specifically on the training videos you're looking at are the things that most people are going to need in most situations. And every gun disarm you're looking at on there is from a real life firearm situation that people are in. That's not, I'm not just coming out of my ideas of, let's see what we can do with a gun. No, we help victims and we protect people. So everything you're seeing is what I know happened to people and what you can actually find on YouTube. You can actually go look up real life violent criminals. You can see the videos yourself. But what we're teaching is for people based on what we know from helping victims over the past 26 years so they can be better prepared. So learning from our mistakes, learning from our failures and successes. So what you're seeing is evolution. And part of the evolution is me learning that being violent is not the key to stopping violence. And I used to believe that. I believed that violence was the key, being not just righteous violence, but ultimately, but ultra violence. So my goal was to always be the most violent person in the room if violence was going to happen. And I believe that being the best person at violence would increase your survivability and your ability to dominate threats. But what I didn't know was a lot about psychology. And now that I have 26 years of actual interaction with people in actual violent situations, I now can tell you a lot more about what it takes to survive because I had to survive myself. And so out of our 3,500 plus team members, none of us are dead. 6 of my staff members have been shot, and every one of them that waited for the ambulance was in closer to death. But we had to take our people to a hospital ourselves. We transported to level 1 trauma hospitals, which is part of our training, and we stabilized our wounded before we transport them. That's why they're alive. So you have to understand those aspects of your training as well. That's why you see in our videos lots of different types of training because we're training for real life. Another thing you're seeing in our videos is we de-emphasize violence overall. And I really try to show people a lot of escape techniques and control techniques because most people that are in situations are in problematic, hostile situations with their family, with their neighbors, with their friends. So specifically, I'm focusing on how not to create more violence in people's lives. That's why you also see me de-emphasize guns, right? By de-emphasizing the gun as a solution, we'll have less people using guns in their own household against their family members if they knew there was an option. So I'm trying to show them lots of options so they can find another way. And even things like don't carry a bullet in your chamber. That's safety.
So how do you reconcile that notion though? So if somebody's going to go to a firearm and use it to protect themselves, but then the theories and the tactics that you're teaching are based on essentially creating the least amount of harm possible to the person trying to attack you. How do you reconcile those two? Because if I'm going to a firearm, I'm going to a firearm because somebody's trying to kill me. And so
because you believe that in your opinion. Yes, correct.
Okay.
They are. Doesn't mean that won't be disproven later in court. Okay. But in your mind, you believe that, and that's correct. And that's what you understand, that my perspective is my perspective at that moment. That may not be the legal perspective of the police when they get there, the detectives, the jury, the judge, all those things are going to come into play. And it may not be the perspective of the people around you where the situation is happening. So that's the first thing we need to understand, is that just because I feel fear doesn't mean it's actually real. And because I think you're going to try to kill me doesn't mean that other people agree. And so that's the other reason why one of the most important things we teach is called threat discernment training. And that means when you look at something, you have to look at it from 3 perspectives: a positive, neutral, negative perspective. So this is why I teach police officers and civilians. Let me give you an example. For you, if you saw a woman being held against a wall or a tree in the park by her throat by a man, what's a positive reason? What's a neutral reason? What's a negative reason for that? What's a positive reason a man's holding a woman by her throat?
And maybe in an attempt to restrain her because she's acting really wild or being belligerent or being very violent herself.
Correct. What's a neutral reason? It's not positive or negative. It's not positive or negative. It is.
I'm not gonna go that route, but
no, you can't.
neutral.
Perhaps that's your thinking, right?
From a neutral standpoint, I can't think of any other reason from a neutral standpoint where you would hold someone by their neck. Personally, maybe escaping me at the moment, but yeah.
Well, this could be a boyfriend girlfriend enjoying time together at the park, and to you it looks like he's hurting her, but that's not what's happening. He's doing what she's asking, and so now. If you only think
okay, all right. See, that's what I was avoiding talking about initially. But my mindset was that's going to take place behind closed doors, et cetera, et cetera.
For you, me, but not other people. They'll be outside when I can see them. So see that it works though. Your value system, my value system. Yeah. I would never do that. We've never have a female under conditions if they like it in a park against a wall. We're not going to do it. Okay, but other people they do that in parks. They do it out in the open. Okay, they role play. Now, what if you think the only reason that a man would hold a woman by her throat is because he's a bad guy, she's a good guy, she's a bad person? She's a good person, he's a bad guy, right? Then you're going to take an action with a firearm, without a firearm. You're going to take an action, and it's not going to be a good action because you're thinking you're saving the woman.
Yeah.
It turns out to be her husband or boyfriend. It turns out to be she's a self-defense instructor, and she's teaching how to get away from the throat hold. These are things that are actually happening. So what's happening right now is called the false positive, because all we can see is from our own perspective. We didn't even consider, is this a threat? Is it real? Right?
Okay, so let's take that. Go ahead.
This is a real true story in New York City. It's a black guy running with a gun, chasing a white guy, right? Yeah. And the person stands up while they're eating at a cafe and shoots the black guy in the head and finds out the black guy was a police officer chasing a bank robber. Yeah. The reason this happened because in her mind, even though she was trained in a law enforcement institution of the highest level, of the absolute highest level in our nation, in her mind, she can only believe that the black guy was chasing him, that was chasing the white guy was the bad guy. And he was part of a task force on some kind of bank robbery task force. This is the bank robber he's chasing. So these kinds of accidents are happening for civilians a lot more than they are for police, but they're happening for police constantly. And these are avoidable if we have a better way of thinking, which we call the threat discernment triad.
So, for instance, let's take that situation. What would you say to someone like me who might find himself in that same type of situation where I see a black guy running after a white guy with a gun in his hand? So what would you teach me to do in that particular situation?
So the first thing you do is you call 911 and you go perform surveillance so you could go after them. I would suggest you chase the person, right? Because then the other police officer would find that problematic. But you would want to perform surveillance and also because your field of fire is not going to be clear. It was New York City, lots of people everywhere. Really wouldn't want to gauge it anyway, right? And so you would perform surveillance. You would get as close as you can from furthest distance away, maintaining cover and calling 911 to get police to respond to this situation. That's when you find out that is a police officer. They would say, "Oh, we're verified now. That's a police situation. Do not engage, not interfere, sir. Stay back away from that situation." And that's what would have happened. Now, if the bad guy would have shot the good guy, let's say the black guy chasing him was a bad guy, and he would have shot the other guy. That is terrible, and unfortunately, in that particular case, very unavoidable, simply because you wouldn't have the necessary knowledge you need, and also the field of fire wouldn't be clear. So for a civilian, this would be catastrophic. for you to shoot the wrong person. And you should expect to shoot the wrong person in a place where there's people everywhere. This person wants to shoot one person. The only thing wrong with wanting to shoot one person, that bad guy, is if you get involved, now you shot 5 people.
Yeah.
So, and that does happen. This is actually happening right now. So looking from different perspectives is very important, and especially important for people carrying firearms. As you know, a guy recently rescued a police officer, and when the police officers arrived, they shot him. The officers can't know that you're the good guy. You're just standing there with a gun, and this happens often. This didn't happen just this one time or 2 times. That's just when we hear about it, and that's just because you in a situation where you're only thinking one way, you tend to make a decision based on what you have.
Yeah.
And the officer didn't do anything wrong. The police officer really thought that's the bad guy. They were responding to an active shooting situation. The civilian dealt with the situation, put the gunman down, and is standing there. I think he's rescuing the police officer in this one. And so the officers, when they responded, all I saw was an officer down and another civilian above him with a gun.
So let's play a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking, right? Because that's kind of all we can do with this situation.
But think of it like this training.
Yeah. So what would you recommend the police officers did differently in that particular situation? Now, granted, we know the outcome, we know what the situation is, so it's easy for us to kind of dissect it. But just for the sake of kind of a thought experiment, what would you suggest for the cops to have done differently in that situation, knowing what you know?
Any situation where there's already a person with a gun, you approach from a distance, not get close to them. You would never bring your car right up to them because they have a gun. That's number one. And you would use your PA system to tell them to put the gun down from a distance with your engine as cover. And of course, I think, in my opinion, we need to provide all police officers with bulletproof glass immediately. That's way more important than computers in cars. You can just call in an ID if you want. But police officer safety is much more important than having a computer to run licenses. Anyway, so right now they don't have bulletproof glass in most cars. Yeah. So you have to use the engine block, right? Keep the engine block between you and them and keep some distance. Yeah. And your PA system to tell them, put the gun down, put your hands up. That's simple, which, by the way, that is what most officers do in those situations. Okay, so officers do come in situations, people have guns, active shooters are taken into custody all the time because police officers don't shoot them. They say, put the gun down, he puts the gun down, they go into custody. What happens is, that's not a rule though, you don't have to do it that way. So when an officer gets there, they make their own determinations. That's why we need to train each person, police and civilian, to see things from these 3 different perspectives. And what you'll see then is, you'll see a different process. Instead of me saying, hey, I hear a noise, or I see someone in my backyard, and now I see my back porch. They just went in the dark, they're crouched in my back of my house. I'm going to now take my gun and shoot them, because I can legally in my state, wherever I'm at, wherever the story took place. He shoots the guy in the head because he's crouched down at his back door. Now, what he doesn't realize is that kid was crouched down because he's hiding from the police because they're having a party across the street and the police were coming after them for being like underage drinking or something, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So he didn't realize the homeowner wasn't trying to kill a kid. He thought it was a real bad guy. So we didn't train the civilian to see that, you know what? You know who goes to your backyard? Sometimes your daughter's boyfriend. Sometimes it'll be your own son trying to hide because you grounded him. He's not supposed to be outside. Yeah. Sometimes it's your son's friends playing a game on him. Sometimes it's all these other things that aren't something you need to use a firearm for or to take a physical action with. And that's what's most common, right? So most commonly, that you're not being attacked by terrorists, you're having an understanding. And what I'm saying is if we train people properly psychologically, we can create a condition where we decrease the likelihood of these accidents from continuing. And they're not really the fault of anyone. There's just a lack of training to prevent it, that's all.
So I don't disagree with anything you said up until this point. As a matter of fact, I actually completely agree with it. And so what it seems like to me is there's a lot more depth than what you see in the videos in terms of the instructions that you provide. But I get it. You got to have the videos out there to serve as a bait to get people interested. They don't like the talking much. Yeah, they don't. Actually teach the classes, right? Yeah. There's the thing I just taught you right there, right? That is on there. They're like, no, thank you. Yep. No. We are fickle individuals. Yeah.
What I do is I started fusing it into the gun stuff, right? I'm like, remember, don't just shoot people because of fear, right? Yeah. Like gun tactic. Like, okay, remember, don't try to grab a gun if you think they're going to not kill you.
Gotcha.
So that's use the training if you think you're going to be killed, and you'll know that. I've been in these situations myself. So what happens is there is a situation where someone has a gun and you can tell they're de-escalating, they're going to leave, and you don't have to do anything. Other times, if you know what to look for, you know, I didn't know at first. I learned everything the hard way. Let me explain. I never knew what it looks like to look at someone's face has intention to kill you, or someone who doesn't have intention to kill you, right? To read their body language. But after being in a lot of force-on-force conflicts, dealing with gangs and individuals that are active shooters, I learned by blaming myself. So every shooting, I didn't blame the government, the police weren't there, or whatever the thing. You blame yourself. I created the conditions. What I did is I put protectors there. They didn't have the ability to, for whatever reason, stop themselves from being shot. So I blame me, and I train against that. What happened? What did these criminals do? How did they get in the vehicle? How did they approach? How did they shoot? Where were they at? You know, what was the angle? What was the situation? And so as I grew to understand each shooting and we have lots of shootings where we didn't. The vast majority of shootings we were not impacted, but 6 of them we were impacted. So we were able to evade most gunshots from multiple aggressors, sometimes simultaneously, and that's why you see my training is a lot different, because it's for real life. And in real life, there's a lot different timing and a lot different ways of thinking. So, you know, like for example, if you're thinking that you're the aggressor, you have the gun, and you're thinking what's in front of you. But in reality, if you're in a situation where you are defending, you have to be aware of everything around you, because the threats didn't even tell you how many there are. You don't know what direction they're coming from. And you have to be aware of all the different ways that they could approach. You can't just think this way. So even our firearms training is completely different. We don't share our firearms training online. You have to become our student to learn that stuff. That's because we don't want that kind of information out there. Our tactics specifically for advanced.
Why is that?
Why?
Yeah.
Because we don't want just random people having it.
Gotcha.
It gives them a serious advantage. So we don't want that. We want them to come for training or become a student.
Okay, so you're talking about from like kind of an offensive defensive perspective.
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
so like if I'm a concealed carry person in terms of dealing with, gotcha.
Right. We don't teach gun disarms of people that are traditionally carrying, using a firearm in a non-criminal way. So all of our disarms are designed to disarm criminals. So these are the angles, these are the things criminals do. They put a gun to your neck, they put a gun to your back, they put a gun to your chest, they put a gun to your head. We didn't do the mouth, but they do put guns in your mouth and other places in women. But the point is, we're not going to simulate those, but that is what's really going to happen, because no one's going to point a gun at you and expect you to comply from a distance. And I can tell you from experience out here, most of the veteran police officers, they don't give distance either. So they're not going to let criminals be over there. They're going to go over there, hands on right away. Otherwise, the criminals will run or pull out a gun. And so that's where you see our training is different, because in real life, criminals do not do anything at a distance. If they do it at a distance, they then close the distance, because that's how they're going to rape you. That's how they're going to take things out of your pockets. That's how they're going to disarm you. That's how they're going to do all the things they need to do. They can't do it at a distance. And they're not going to trust you to empty your own pockets. They're not going to be like, okay, I don't want to get close to you, so just tell me what's in your pocket. Just get it out. Just get out. Okay, back up, so I don't want you to grab my gun, because I'm really scared of you. No gun. Nobody with a gun is scared of somebody without a gun. Come on, man. The reason I say that is because I get these comments online. They're like, well, I would shoot if I was there because of my training in special operations. What I would do, you're not. Are you out robbing, raping, and abducting people? No. So this is not for you. This is for you to defend against a criminal, a violent criminal. How about if Chris Kyle had been in my training, he would have read the body language of that guy standing behind him. He would have never let that guy stand behind him with a loaded gun, ever. 5 minutes with Chris Kyle, he would have been like, oh, whoa, yeah. No, I'm not going to have somebody behind me and with a gun. It's just not going to happen. And then Chris Kyle will be alive right now.
So what do you say? Well, wouldn't the context of the environment play a part in that, considering that we're at a gun range when it happened? Because I know when I'm at a gun range and I see somebody with a firearm, I'm not necessarily as on guard as I normally would be out of context. Let's say if I walk into a gas station or I'm walking down the street and I see someone with a firearm, my threat level and threat assessment is going to be a little bit lower, because I'm at more tolerance, because I'm at a gun range. Everybody has guns in their hands.
Yeah, I don't care if we're at a gun range or not. It doesn't bother me to see guns and not guns or whatever. I look at the body language, reading the people. So that's why we teach that. So once you understand how to read the body language, you don't care about a gun or not. And that's where the fear of gun is ridiculous. So like I have some people say, because we interact with real criminals on the streets, right? And they'll say, how come you didn't check to see if they have a gun? Or aren't you scared they could have pulled out a gun? Nope, because I can read them. I know by reading, read stands for recognize evasive, aggressive, and deceptive behavior. So that's what I teach. So understanding that when your head is in a certain position, your eyes are in a certain position, facial expression, voice inflection, changes in your behavior, looking at their eyes, seeing what they're looking at, and are they engaged, their body position, all that things are what tells you if they're a threat or not. Not whether or not you see a gun or not. By the time you see the gun, it's too late anyway. By the time
well, I was more so talking about from the standpoint of why maybe Chris Kyle was on a less level of threat assessment.
No,
so
that's a good point. Your point is very good. I'm glad you asked that, because we need to clear that up. It doesn't matter where you are. You need to be on your not paranoid guard, but you need to be hyper aware that someone could have negative intentions for you, even though you have no negative intentions towards them. It could be a coworker, a family member. It could be an accident. Yeah. So why it's important that gun is not at that angle, sitting on the counter? Because it can still fire and shoot someone, right? Yeah. But imagine if we change our behavior because I like you or don't like you, right? So what we have to do is we have to learn to look at the behavior in the moment, right? That guy was a PTSD victim, all right? He was PTSD, right? And so Chris Kyle was bringing him to the range, is what we were told. So automatically, that alone means I'm not giving that guy a gun at all until it's his turn to shoot, right? I don't know what his skill level is. I don't know what his knowledge level is before that. So I'm definitely not giving him or letting him have a loaded weapon around me, standing behind me, okay? Yeah. And I've been training people with firearms so long over the years that I just wouldn't do that anyway, because I don't know, right? And I don't want any mistakes. I mean, it's in this case, it wasn't a mistake, but as I say, with proper psychological training, right, you're able to read a situation and prevent it. The point is not to over-respond, but to create a condition where a person with violent intention just can't get the drop on you. Yeah, that's what I learned the hard way. So because I didn't know these things, but after being in the situations, being in shootouts with violent criminals who, they didn't look violent. Honestly, so one of the things I noticed after, watch too many Dirty Harry movies. If you don't know what Dirty Harry is, go back and YouTube that. I mean, that might be before your time.
I'm very familiar.
Dirty Harry may have been my hero. Charles Bronson, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Okay, Charles Bronson, go back and watch Death Wish 1 through 13. And that's me. What I can tell you is all that thinking is wrong. I didn't know that. I learned that. But basically, the most violent person, the shooters, they have a stoic look. They're smaller. Usually they're smaller. They know they're not fighters. Yeah. These are the actual shooters. They're very quiet. They're very small. They're very calm. They're very intelligent, and they lack emotion state. And so I was like watching TV. I was looking for the guy grimacing, and I looked for the guy we had a problem with, like his anger or something. No, opportunity. What makes something happen is opportunity. So we create a condition where the criminal element believes that there's a denial of that opportunity. That's how we keep families safe. So if you look at crimemapping.com for Detroit, all the communities we work in, there's a lack of criminal icons. So on the map, that shows there's no crime. So there's no home invasion, no murder. But if you look around our community, it's everywhere outside of that area. And so that's how you prove our efficacy, our effectiveness, is because you actually have data that's from the police department that proves that our communities have, according to Chief Craig, the police chief that we just had recently retired, he said that a federal judge got shot in a community that was next to ours. They have security as well, but they're a different kind of security. We are responsive, so we are proactive and preventive, but we also have very fast response time, usually under 5 minutes. And in this situation, the judge was shot during what was going to be a home invasion. He resisted the three men. They wanted to just go in his house, and this three men had abducted and home invaded multiple families before this. But there's several crews that were doing this. But they don't kill the people. They don't shoot them. They don't kill them. They duct tie them. They tie them with duct tape to chairs, and then they take the husband to the bank, and then they let them all go. Yeah. That's been like 30 cases, right? In this case, the judge didn't want to let these three young men into a house with his wife and daughter. He resisted. He got shot in the leg. They took off and left. So the police chief had a big meeting, and he said that he called me out in the middle of his meeting and said that according to ComStat, the stat the police use, here in Detroit. He said that our 3 communities in that particular area, Palmer Woods, Sherwood Forest, and Detroit Golf Club, had the least amount of crime and had lower amounts of crime than most communities in America. And he said, just keep doing whatever you're doing, whatever it is, working out.
Yeah.
So, that's how we know it works, is not just the market where, these people that hire us, or homeowners associations that pay us, that's not how we, maybe they could pay us anyway, but honestly, they wouldn't. If we're not successful at protection, they would fire us, okay? But more importantly, if they didn't need us, they wouldn't hire us. But it's great to hear that the police chief was really supportive of our outcomes. And the outcome is that somehow the crime rate's so low that he wanted to remark on it. So that's another way your training actually works. And remember that includes things like, your people not saying and doing things wrong to other people. So the training is psychological, legal, and tactical. So psychology, law, skill are the 3 orders. That's the order it's in. And we have something called a threat management continuum. So like police have a force continuum. We have a threat management continuum. So it shows you how, as a system, you should use techniques that are in line legally to defend yourself. The lowest, medium, high. So escape, control, immobilize, threat. You should try to escape from them if you can, control them if you can't escape from them, and immobilize them if you have to due to exigent circumstances.
Gotcha. So for the people out there who are saying, if you watch these skills, if you watch these tactics and try to and actually try to use these tactics in a situation, you're going to get yourself killed. What would you say to those people who have that kind of...
Watch your next episode because you and I are going to do those gun disarms, me and you.
Okay.
We're going to use simunitions. And so you can actually share. It's going to be a real gun with simunition bullets. You and I are going to do it, and they're going to trust you. They know you're not. I don't know why they don't trust the other people, but from the comments, somebody think I hired the people to testify. That's never going to happen. I'm never going to pay anybody for their opinion about nothing. But I will demonstrate. I demonstrate in the street. So remember, I started in Detroit 26 years ago. I had people stop me in the street just to see if stuff is real. And I'll show them right there in the middle of the parking lot, sidewalk, a grocery store. I don't care where I'm at. I'll show you right now tactics work in person. And I got videos up. You look at our YouTube, you'll see real life street demos. People are now people are stopping me, like random people just all over the place, at gas stations, every place, because they want to do a selfie, right? And then they're like, show me these techniques, man. Show me a tactic. So I show them tactics right there at the gas station, right on the side of the road. It's great, man. It's really positive. At the end of the day, the training saves lives. So that's what we're most happy about. We can actually share with people techniques where they don't have to let violent criminals attack and kill their families and abduct them. And that's what this is all about. Increasing people's options. If they decided to resist, then here's something you should know about human reaction time, biomechanics, that's going to give you an advantage. And if you want to listen to the criminal and do what they say, that's your choice, and that might be the best choice for you. And it might work out.
Yeah.
That might. But remember this. When people are dead at the morgue or dead on the side of the road, and it's a murder investigation, that's not part of the robbery discussion. Okay, they're not actually saying, oh, look, this how many people got killed in a robbery. That person's murdered. Okay, so that's not part of the robbery discussion.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking that just because I complied, I will survive, that's just not true.
Yeah, right? I've had that conversation with a lot of my friends too. I've had friends who were in situations where they did comply and they survived, but I was like, there are a number of cases where they complied and they still got shot.
I complied, and I complied. I was a private investigator. I complied. I've been doing gun disarms, but only one gun disarm. So a guy put a gun in my head here. I was actually not upset. I thought I was gonna have the greatest story of tactics ever. My gun disarm story.
Yeah.
I was 21. This was so exciting. I trained at 5-year martial arts schools. Every day I trained a different one. And I was like, this is gonna be the greatest ever. And all of a sudden, another guy put a gun on my left side, and I was like, oh man, you mean they more than one gun? Anyway, man, long story short, man, they didn't kill me, but they did shoot at me. So they got across the street, they went down, they shot some other people down the street, which makes no sense. So remember that this is for your audience. Gunmen are not you. You're not a criminal gunman, so you can't understand their thought process, and you should not try to be them in your mind. They will never think like you. And the other thing I want to pass on is this. I thought if you got shot, especially you got shot a lot, you just died, right? Especially headshot. You didn't study ballistics, and I didn't study ballistics first. I studied later. All my people were alive, and I couldn't understand why. So I talked to the actual people in the ER rooms. And I got some years of experience talking to them. So that's how I came with this number. The 8 out of 10 people that get shot live. 8 out of 10 people live. Okay, and I got that from years of exposure of sitting in ER rooms with my people with bullet holes in them. So I'm wondering why my people are living. And I'm like, in my mind, you should be dead. One guy shot by 7.62 in a drive-by. It was a female, pushed her head down. All the rounds went over her face, over her head, and crushed my face. And I never stood in front of an AK-47 or SKS. I'm not sure which one it was because of where I was at, which is in front of it. But the debris from it, the carbon hit me in the face like sand, like someone taking sand and smashed it in your face at zero, like 1 inch at the beach. Just imagine that, just right in your face. And my face turned away. Traffic's everywhere. There's no way to return fire. It's a crowd of cars. And none of those people got shit. None of the gunmen ever got caught, by the way. So,
gotcha.
And they're broad daylight shooting, some of them. And make a long story short, I just didn't know that was true too. I thought if you basically shoot people, especially in America, you have a car, they can put together cameras, we can catch you. And that's not true. It's not true, man. But what I can tell you from the gunshot situation is this: 8 out of 10 people live. And the 50% of those people that do die are simply dying because of hypovolemic shock. So if we just keep the blood inside, we can save lives. That's the moral of the story. Is all my training is designed to do one thing: empower people with the option and opportunity to help save their lives and lives of others.
Awesome. Well, I mean, like I said before, I had my curiosity, I had my questions. I'm pretty sure vast majority of my audience had their questions as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring you on and let you state your piece and kind of provide the perspective and context for what you were doing.
I thank you for that, man. I've been watching you for a long time.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
I think you do a great job of presentation and your analysis is on point. And I think that NRA having you is a great thing, man. It really renewed my confidence in the NRA, knowing that you're an NRA spokesperson. So, great job.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, man. And thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Let me know when you do the gun.
Oh, no. We'll get it set up. All right,
That's the
all right, brother.
episode ever. I'm telling you.
Say that again.
Greatest episode ever. When they find they're going to actually shoot me with simulations. They're going to be like, man, listen.
We're gonna get it. Yeah, we're gonna get it put together. I'm gonna get together up there. We're gonna figure out some dates and we're gonna get together. We're gonna do it.
Yes. All right. Talking to you.
All right, brother.
Thank you.
Guns aren't political. That's why I need your help getting this message to spread on YouTube by clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment to let me know what you think of the video, then subscribing to the channel. But most importantly, click that bell symbol. For products featured in this video, click the links in the description.